I never know how to start these videos because I just feel like it's like you clicked on the title, you know what you're clicking, you know what we're doing. Like, I'm sitting here like, guess what? Like, you didn't see the thumbnail and the title. So as you saw, we're doing the ultimate bookish video today. I might end up doing a little bit of a wrap up at the end of this video. I'm not quite sure. I know for sure that we are going book shopping today and bookstore frequenting. I don't know if we're gonna buy any books today necessarily, but I'm just in the book vibe. I want to go to a bookstore or two. We're definitely gonna read in this vlog because we're reading Throne of Secrets. I'm so excited about Throne of Secrets. If you've watched our channel, you know that we're obsessed, and it's that time. The book finally came out. We have the book. It's on our TBR, so we're doing the right thing by reading it. And I think Sam's getting it right now.
Oh! Look at this.
It's also pretty beautiful. Yeah. We have the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of it, but the other one is like a darker blue, and I just feel like the lighter blue, it matches like the lighter pink of like the other Barnes & Noble edition, like so. So, anywho, we're gonna be reading this today. I'm reading the physical version, and Sam's going to like get it on her Kindle app, and I'm really excited about it. So, book shopping, book reading, might do some wrapping up of October. Of October in this vlog. It is nearing the end of fall and we're quickly approaching winter time. See the Christmas tree. And it's just the perfect time to get cozy and cute. So we're gonna be doing that, and come along with us, please. Bye. Okay, I mean, as you saw from the clips, we've been out all day, all morning, and we have a very excited puppy here. And so before I can say anything about like books or what we did or anything, we have to give her the toys that we bought her. We just get her stuffed animals from Five Below, and she loves them. She goes through toys so quickly, like shreds them, that we just get like cheap little stuffed animals. But we got her a Thanksgiving themed one, and we're really excited about it. And Sam got her a Spider-Man one. Okay, yeah, first, these are just like little cheap squishmallows. It was like $5, something like that. But this little turkey is so cute. And so the other one, little Spider-Man. We also got her treats as well. But she's a toy girl at heart. So she picked the spider. Oh,
what you got? What you got? You don't know. Oh.
Anyways, in regards to the other stuff that we bought, we might as well just show you everything. So we went to 2 half-price books.
Yes. 2
half-price books, 1 Barnes. We were really good. We only bought 1 book, which is in our Trader Joe's bag. We ended up getting Wicked King, which if you watch our channel, you know the Crow Prince is like our running joke least favorite book. But I really I've heard a lot of things about giving the series another shot, and like that later on the series gets better, and there's so much hype around it that I just want to understand so bad. And so we saw it. This was a really good copy, and it was only $6, and so we figured if we're gonna give it another shot, we might as well get it here. So yeah, we got this. That was the only thing we got in terms of books. And then obviously we went to Five Below, and we got, I think I got a banana Laffy Taffy, which was really gross. I remember them being way better, and it was not. Sam got a jumbo Reese's.
Oh yeah.
And then we got these 2 Squishmallows, and then we went to Pet Supplies Plus, and we got this cat toy. As you guys have seen, we have 2 kitties, and their toy recently exploded and broke, and we just haven't been good about replacing it, and they actually really like having like these kinds of toys, so we finally got one. This is on sale. And then we got Hartwick Fields Tender Sticks chicken recipe as a treat.
Look how big this is. Big. Whoa, what's that?
Did you eat it already?
Jeez.
Okay, acting like no one feeds you. Anyways, that's all we got in terms of like the haul and stuff like that. We're going to clean up the room a little bit, and then we're gonna get to reading. And we're also gonna make dinner. So
You come along for that adventure as well?
yeah, you'll be along for the ride because I think we're just gonna carry this vlog through the weekend and have it be like a little cutie weekend booky vlog, something like that. Ari's gonna continue to play with her toys, or turkey. And we'll talk to you. Jammy pants. Jammy pants have been put on.
Cold.
The vibes are about to be set.
Yes.
The kitties played with their toy. Oh, and Sam bought her book. And so we are ready to go. Also, I know I briefly said it, I think in my TBR video, possibly. I'm not quite sure. We are fully decked out for Christmas. And I didn't show it in a vlog, which is kind of lame, but we were just so in the mood to just decorate and get jolly and excited. Because when we did the fall decorations, well, not fall, but like the spooky decorations, it was all about making that video, which is fine. And like, obviously we like filming for you guys. We got in the mood to do the decorating when it was really late, and so we just went for it. And so I guess I'll show you now because we haven't shown. In that top corner you can barely see, we have one of those houses that we got from Michael's where you like paint. We did the same thing for spooky season and we haven't painted them yet. And then we have a little Christmas tree. These are actually little reindeer. So cute. And then we have a little sleigh. And then there are little houses up there, and then that is like a lamppost thing, but it actually turns on. We have the same lantern that we had before, the same, you can't really see it because the light is obnoxious, but the same like candle that we had before. It says Merry Christmas right there, and then we have our little stockings. And then up there, that you can't really see, there's a little, what are they called? Nutcracker Jum guy, and a wooden tree. Those are actually both ornaments that we're just using as decor because we like it that way better. And then we have a little tea light holder Christmas tree. Over there is kind of where the decorations started to run out, but we have one of those houses from Michael's again. And then lanterns. And then we have our little tree. We got this from Target a couple years ago. And then the last thing is this little house, which is actually a Halloween decoration that we got on sale, but it's another tea light holder. So we slowly started changing our bedding to Christmassy vibe bedding. So we've added red tones, and for November we're leaving it as like red and brown, and then for Christmas we're just gonna switch it to black so that it's more of this like dark Christmas vibe. That's all for that. And now we're gonna get cozy. We're gonna set the vibes. Sam is literally in the middle of setting the vibes, and when I say set the vibes, I mean we're setting all our candles up. And then we're gonna put something on the TV, which I highly recommend if you're the kind of reader that you just feel like you can't like get in the vibe. I highly recommend not only candles, but also putting something on the TV, whether it be like you want something playing in the background, like a show, movie, whatever, music. But we either do, or it looks like a fireplace, like a fire pit going, or we'll do like
vibe
classical music.
And we definitely like the dark academia kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Or we have like rain sometimes in the background, or like, yeah, firecrackers.
Yeah, and we'll literally, it's like on volume like 1 or 2. Like it's as low as it can get, but it just helps drown out like the house noises, I guess is what you describe it as. Yeah. Like people walking around, people doing like their day-to-day tasks, whatever. And it really, really makes a difference. So I highly recommend doing that if you have a problem with getting in the vibe. Again, Sam's doing all of our little candles, which we've really gotten obsessed with. We get our tea lights from IKEA. And we do like regular basic like mini size. This burns in 4 hours. And then we have these, which are bigger tea lights. They last 9 hours and they're bigger. Like obviously I just said that they're wide. So this one will last 9 hours, and we'll only do it like every once in a while, but when we're just trying to set the vibes, we put everything. When we have read other books that have been like more highly anticipated, like when we were waiting for Reckless to come out, which is in the Powerless trilogy. Or there have been other books that we've gone and gotten like right away. We have never been like this excited, and we actually have never been this slow. When Reckless came out, we read it same day, but with this, it's been out for a couple days and we were just waiting, and one, because of like scheduling, but also I really didn't want this to get ruined by whatever I've like built up in my mind. I wanted to give it a second and not be so overly excited for it and ruin it, because I'm just expecting for it to be a 10 out of 10, you know. So I wanted to give it a second and let myself calm down, because I knew that my expectations were through the roof, and I'm sure it's gonna be amazing, but I just, you know, I wanted to give it its fair moment. So I'm gonna quit talking so that Sam can open these matches. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
It's day 2 of this weekend, and just gonna walk you through some books that we read last month.
Oh, am I now?
Yeah, you are.
So
get to it. Okay.
I'll have you know, she never speaks to me that way. She would not exist if she spoke to me that way.
Yeah, no. Awful. It was a joke, you guys.
Anyways. Now that we've had that lapse in judgment.
You're really yummy coffee this morning, guys.
No, I have gotten to the point where my coffee hits every time. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm literally just hitting a button on a Keurig. But my ratio. You know what I'm talking about. Right.
She's been doing the right amount of scoops.
Yes, yes, yes.
Like,
we do brewed coffee rather than like the Keurig pods or something like that, or Nespresso
we have
pods.
The pot and the
yeah,
side.
We have the Keurig Duo where you have like a pot on one side, and then you could do pods, and then Sam has her own espresso machine as well. But in terms of brewing the coffee, I've been doing like the right amount of scoops.
Mm-hmm. Right amount of grounds and each scoop. It's been fabulous.
Yeah, I do a little bit extra than what is recommended, and that's been the trick. And it's so trick. Yeah.
You do like a nice full scoop. Like
each scoop is a little bit of a heaping scoop, and then I do an extra half scoop.
Is the half scoop also heaping?
No, I do half of the whole one. I don't do the little guy. I do half of the big one. That's the secret. That's a recipe. But anyways, it's been really good, and so we've been having a great time. What I'm trying to talk to you about is the wrap up. I didn't do a regular wrap up this month because we honestly just ran out of time. By the time that we finished books, we were doing it like up until the very last day, and by the time that it was time to film a wrap up, we had just moved on to needing to film other things. So I was gonna do it in this video. So the first book that we read this past month was Belladonna. It was by Adeline Grace. We gave it a 4.5 stars. And we really like this. This is actually a murder mystery set in a fantasy world, and the only time that we've read anything similar in terms of the genre type is Stuart Turton, who does murder mysteries in like fantasy or sci-fi or dystopian worlds, and those are really complicated, but this was nice and young adult and simple, and it was still really good. Obviously we gave it 4.5 stars, but having this type of book in like a lot more user-friendly, I guess is the word I'd say, way, like consuming it quickly and being able to go through it and like really enjoy it rather than trying to like think about it too much was really nice. But you're following Signa. Signa has been an orphan almost her entire life. Her parents died when she was a little baby, and she's been passed around from guardian to guardian her entire life. They're all just waiting because her family had a lot of money. They're just waiting to cash in on her. Basically, they're just using her for her money. But she is actually super close with Death. Death has its own like persona in this story and in this fantasy world, and she's always interacted with him. And so you're just seeing the way that she's interacting with Death and the way that her life unfolds with all these awful guardians, and the way that Death has been dipping in and out of her life to help her or to not help her, vice versa. And then there's a murder mystery at her most recent guardian's house, and so you're seeing how that plays out, and it was really good. So this is a trilogy. The last one just came out pretty recently, and so I highly recommend. The next book that we read was Assistant to the Villain. This is by Hannah Nicole Mayer. This is another book that really surprised us. We went into this thinking that it was going to be, one, a lot smaller, ended up being a decently sized book, but we also just thought that it was going to be something that we felt averagely about, and it blew us out of the water, honestly. We gave this a 5-star, and I highly recommend, if you're looking for something that you can breeze right through in a fantasy world that's really easy to get into, I highly recommend, because it really was a breath of fresh air. It's supposed to be like a fantasy comedy, and so we were laughing the entire time. There was never a point where we felt like it was super serious. There are definitely serious topics talked about in this, and if you're someone that looks into trigger warnings, I'd look into it. But in terms of the overall like vibe, it was really lighthearted. It was really easy to get through, especially with those topics being discussed, so I highly recommend. But basically, you're following Evie. She bumps into the city villain or town villain, who was hated by everybody in this like kingdom. It's kind of the vibe of like, not like Bridgerton, but that kind of vibe where there's horse and carriage and the women wear corsets and they have these big dresses, like stuff like that. It's like the world you're following. But basically Evie needs to get a job. She's walking around, is in the forest, bumps into this villain, helps him, and he actually offers her a job, and now she is working as the assistant to the villain in a kingdom where everyone hates him. And so you're seeing the good side of him, the bad side. You start to learn like why he's the villain. You start to see like the ins and out of their operation, because it's like a whole company almost. It's pretty funny. Again, this was really just a story that surprised us because we had such low expectations of it, to be honest. Next, we have Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is the second in the Carvel trilogy. I guess it's not trilogy anymore because there's a fourth one, but that series. So I don't want to speak too much about everything that happened in here because again, it is the second in a series, but you're just continuing on in this world. Basically, in regards to the Carvel world, you're following these two sisters. The first book, you're following Scarlet. She goes into this Carvel like competition mystery type situation to try to find her sister, because her sister just like ran off into this into the carnival. And there's a lot more to it, but brief description, that's what you're following in the first book. And on the second book, you're following Donatella's side of everything. It didn't go back, which is what I was expecting. I thought it was going to do like everything that happened in the first book, but just in the sister's point of view, but it's moving forward in time. So that was interesting. We rated this a 3.5, and I know that we rated Carvel a 3, so it was a little bit better. We're definitely going to read the final one, or the third one. Definitely not my favorite series. I find it like interesting enough to continue, but we're really reading this to get to Once Upon a Broken Heart because we've heard a lot of really good things about it, and you're supposed to read this before that because there are characters that overlap. Next, we read Hooked by Emily McIntyre. This is a fractured fairy tale story, so it has certain representations or certain things that they're pulling from fairy tale stories, but it's just completely different and twisted. So these are dark romances. They're not fantasy, but they are pulling certain details from fantasy stories and like fairy tales and stuff like that. So in this, it's actually like the fractured fairy tale version of Peter Pan and Wendy's story. And you're in all of these, because this is a series, you're following all of the villains from those fairy tales and like their love stories and like the twist and why you would see the typical hero in like a negative light. So you're following James, who is like Hook, and Wendy. James is like kind of like a gang lord, mafia vibe, I guess is what I would describe it. And Wendy, she's the daughter of a guy who runs an airline, and so he has a lot of money, and she's like in the spotlight a lot because of that. But James is like mob guy, and you're just following their story and their romance. And again, these are dark romances, but I do recommend these if you're trying to dip into dark romance. We've read 2 since like reading this first one, and I really like them. They're definitely dark. There's definitely twisted parts of it, and if you aren't into dark romance, I wouldn't recommend. But if you want to try dark romance and you want to have more of like a beginner friendly version is what I would describe this as, because it definitely is still dark and everyone's concept of what's beginner friendly and what's not is subjective, obviously, but having all of the fairy tale sides of it makes it a lot easier to get through those harder parts, or to even enjoy those harder parts or like more dark parts, because it's like going through like an Easter egg hunt and you're trying to find all of those references to a fairy tale that you loved as a child. And so it makes it a little more palatable to try and see if dark romance is for you, and it's not like just dark romance the entire time. So I highly recommend. We gave this a 3.75 is what I'm changing it to. I originally gave it a 4, but since reading the other two, my base of what I'm rating dark romance on has changed. Next we have Alice by Christina Henry. This is another retelling, reimagining if you will. This is following Alice, who's from like Alice in Wonderland stories by Lewis Carroll. This is actually following Alice way into the future when she's like in her mid to late 20s, I believe, or if not like early 30s, in that range. And instead of actually being in the world of Alice in Wonderland, she's actually portrayed as being like crazy, and so she's in a mental hospital. They think that she had delusions, they think that she made it all up, they think that she's crazy, that she's seeing things, blah blah blah. And you're actually seeing the parts that were real, the parts that she might have made up, the parts that ended up being something different. Really interesting, definitely very dark. I would argue that this was more twisted to me than Hooked, but again, that's all subjective. I was just very surprised at what this gave because I wasn't expecting as many dark topics as there were. I kind of went into the dark romance expecting for it to be dark, whereas this, I was expecting for it to be a little twisted, but instead it covered a lot of darker topics. There was a lot of talk of sex trafficking in here, which again, you wouldn't expect at all. Obviously, talking about that awful subject is important and needs to be done, but it was definitely very surprising. We gave this book a 3.5. Sorry, my camera died. But anyways, going back, we read Phantasma this past month, and this is by Kaylee Smith. This is the first, and I believe it's only going to be a duology. I'm not quite sure. You're following a very similar plot line to Caraval in the way that you're following a girl who has a sister. Her sister runs into this type of like competition, this dark, twisted competition that is dangerous, and then you're just seeing like how the story unveils, the different things that are going on in the competition, stuff like that. So you're following Ophelia. Her family has a business where they talk to the dead. The whole point of going into Phantasma is you go through all these different rounds and you're trying to survive long enough to try and get to the end, and you're gonna win like this favor, or I think it's a favor or like a wish or something like that. There are devils and demons and monsters and scary stuff going on in this manor, and the manor is almost like alive, I guess is how I would describe it, where things just keep like happening to you, and every person has like a different experience, and each room is different, and the rooms are changing, the walls are changing. It's very like interesting when you think of the world, but really didn't enjoy it as much as we thought we were going to, because not only the romance was a little lacking, but we also just felt like it was a little anticlimactic overall. It still was good. If you liked Caraval, I feel like you would like this, because we don't really love Caraval, so a similar storyline wasn't necessarily gonna be like our favorite no matter what. So if you liked it, I would recommend it. Otherwise, this would probably be something that you could skip. We are gonna read the second one just to like complete it and kind of like have it like just done in our minds. And obviously we went through this entire book. It's a hefty book, so I want to know how it ends because it left off on a cliffhanger. Overall stats: we read 2,261 pages, 6 books, and our average rating was around a 4. Pretty good overall. I mean, again, we only read 6 books, which is on the lower end for us, but either way, I feel like it was a pretty productive month. I think I'm just gonna end it here. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I really fun doing this little bit. We didn't read too much of Throne of Secrets. I know we barely really talked about it. We ended up reading a little bit more, but we fell asleep. Honestly, we were really tired. We made like a new-ish meal last night, and it took a while to do. So by the time that we were done eating and like cleaned up and everything, we were just ready to go to bed. So as of right now, I'm on page 45. Sam's
I'm about there too,
in a pretty similar spot. We're liking it so far. I'm definitely not falling into it as quickly as I fell into Throne of the Fallen. But I think that's just because, one, there's different stories or whatever. But also we're so early in, I can't really make like a decision on it. I can't really say if we like it or not yet because we're really not that far in. So we're gonna keep reading this today, but I'm gonna end the vlog here because we're probably gonna continue on other vlogging and stuff like that. So appreciate you so much. Thank you for watching. And yeah. What did you want to say?